What's up, guys? It's Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to PXA Peeks at Road to Ballhalla. So, what would happen if you took something like Marble Madness, put it largely on a 2D plane, and gave it kind of this zen atmosphere, but at the same time, kind of a teenager douchebag attitude to it? That's what you get here. This is a weird combination of things, and has some real interesting tone about it, but it's also pretty neat. So this is basically a sort of arcade puzzle game, if you will, not unlike something like Marble Madness or other titles like that. And this comes to us from a small developer called Torchtail and Tiny Build. Tiny Build Games used to be a developer, and they sort of evolved into a small publisher who puts out a lot of really small, different, quirky games. Not everything they put out hits with me, but this is kind of interesting, even though games like this don't tend to grab with me very much. So this is the idea. You are a ball, and believe me, the ball puns in this game, oh, there are so many. And you are going through these different levels. There is a campaign in here, and you're going through these different levels to try to get to the end and to maximize your, not really your score. You don't really have a score in this, but each level has, try that again. Every level in this has different goals to it, or bonus objectives that you can achieve, I guess. Kind of like, you know how a lot of mobile games have that thing where they're like, hey, this level has 3 stars, you know, do these special things or do the level in a quick enough order or whatever, and you get all the stars. This game has something kind of like that. Every level has 8 bonus, I don't know what you call them, but basically bonus tokens that you can get. And the way you get them is by, interestingly enough, not finishing the level as fast as possible. You collect them by getting all of these little yellow power-ups, and also completing the level with a minimal amount of respawning. So what's interesting about this is that this game can be very challenging, but it's also very forgiving if you want it to be, despite its attitude. So what happens is that you don't have a certain set number of lives. You can respawn as much as you want, and you can do whatever you need to do in order to finish the level. However, if you want to get the vast majority or all of the bonus tokens, you want to collect all of these sort of little yellow collectible things within the level, and you want to try to do it. You never have to not die at all to get the highest score, but you have to die a very small number of times. And obviously, the worse you do with each of those, the less power-ups you get. I did kind of crappy on this level. So you see here, orbs collected, 91%. I don't remember what I called them, but yeah, they're orbs. So 100% gets you the main thing. Respawns used 0, so I got all of them. You've earned 7 out of 8 tokens. Now this level, I've already earned all 8. So you can just finish the level however you want, but you kind of over time have to go back to get all those, because in order to eventually get to all the different areas of the game, you have to have a certain number of tokens available to unlock future levels. Some people are going to like that, some people aren't. A lot of people don't like the whole idea of gating off content, demanding sort of perfection. Like, for example, here, so Ballhalla is through there, which is probably the end of the game, and you have to have 100 stars to do that. Now, it's not as bad as it may look, because I already have 75. There's 116 total. I already have 75, and I've basically not even started the third world yet. So you see, you can sort of do things that way. In addition, when you beat all the levels in a world, you unlock what's called Rush Mode. This is an optional mode that is actually kind of cool, because this is where you get graded on time. But the cool thing is in the time mode, you get graded only on time. So there are no bonus orbs to pick up. And you're actually not punished for respawning, other than the fact that you can't, respawning makes you take longer, so you obviously can't get through it that way. But this is a bonus mode. This is not actually required in order to complete the game, which I appreciate. I like the fact that they for people who aren't a fan of time attack, well, you just don't have to do it if you don't want to, and that's pretty awesome. So you sort of have extra methods to it. But for example, actually, I'm going to start this over because I'm going to give you an idea of this game's sort of attitude, for example. So you see here where it says, the blue floor looks like it allows you to travel between alternate dimensions. Oh, well, maybe I should try that. And nope. And actually, if you're playing this normally, it looks like it doesn't do it here. But I'll show you what it does here. So if you actually go into the world, there. But it doesn't. Not really. This game does that kind of thing to you the whole time. It will try to lead you down the wrong path sometimes, and it will relentlessly mock you for it. Even if following it down the wrong path sometimes can impact your ability to get the highest amount of bonus tokens. Though when it does these kind of douchey deception things, it tends to do it fairly early on. So you can either accept the one respawn early, or at any time you can also just go into the menu here, say restart the trial, and there you go, and it resets everything. So you have that option. It's very odd the way this game, like I said, it has this very zen thing, but and this very zen vibe to it, but it also has kind of a weird attitude. And like, for example, here, there's a thing that says do not enter. What does this do? Why would you enter a hole that clearly says do not enter? And your only option is no idea, really. That's it. Nothing else to it. It's just like, you're kind of a dick, game. Also here, there's a hole called A-hole. What could happen here? You hear a voice from below that whispers you suck. So you truly are an a-hole. You see what I mean? It's just kind of it's a weird tonal inconsistency, but one I actually kind of appreciate because I think it's kind of goofy. And where this thing gets really, really challenging is it introduces new mechanics to you constantly. So, for example, those things with the blue squares where you have to pick up specific blue power-ups in order to get through them, that is something that it introduces. There are a bunch of levels that have lasers in them and patterns that you have to recognize that it gets really crazy. This is the one that kind of screwed me up the most. So, this trial will provide a wholly different perspective on your journey to Ballhalla. What is it? Oh yeah, it just decides to completely alter the camera, but here's the really insidious part. It's not just a look. So you may be noticing that I'm moving very awkwardly now. Yeah, this thing alters the camera, but it doesn't alter your control perspective. So though the game looks completely different, the controls are being treated as if it's on a flat plane. And it basically requires you to sort of rewire your head as you go. So like here I had a really hard time. See, I'm pushing down right now, and it's actually moving me to the right. See, still confused? Your controls don't change, only your perspective in the world does. That is devilish. And that's the kind of thing, you know, where this game is different from something like Marble Madness is the mechanics that Marble Madness largely had that made it different were the fact that it introduced things like enemies in that. This game does have those, but not to that degree. A lot of this is environmental changes and things like this that just require you to think in a wholly different way. Like technically, probably the way it expects you to do this, and it actually does kind of encourage you to later in the level, is if I were to turn my controller sideways and use the D-pad as opposed to the analog stick. By the way, I am playing this with an Xbox One controller, though you can use keyboard and mouse if you want. Though again, this is a game that where controller and analog controls are probably better suited for it. But you see, I turned my controller sideways, and now it actually makes a lot more sense. So there are ways to game around with it, but it's a weird thing, and I think it's kind of cool because it forces you to think very, very differently. And you see, here's a kind of mean thing where you're in the middle of a hard trial, and you have to think on the fly on how to readjust your controls. So obviously you could see there's these red squares that are synchronized to the music, and that's a big part of this game. So you have health, as you can see in the bottom left corner there. So the controls for this are very simple. You just move around, you can jump with the A button if you want to, and by holding down the right trigger, you give your ball a boost. If you touch any of these red squares when they're lit up, it hurts you, but it doesn't kill you. And every time you hit a checkpoint in a level, which is what one of those white orbs are, it heals you. And it allows you to restart there if you die. But what happens is if you're boosting and you hit one of those red things, you die instantly. And that's the tricky part, because some of these puzzles actually require you to move really, really fast in order to get through them. But you have to make sure to time that, because if you're off, if you spend even 1 frame boosting in those red blocks, you're dead. So it really requires you to really pay attention and think fast. This game, especially in the later levels, does not give you any real opportunities to breathe. You've got to move and move fast if you want to maximize your potential with this thing, which is something that I really appreciate. And you see in the bottom right there, it shows how many times you've respawned and how many of the total orbs in the level you have picked up. So you do have the ability to keep track of what it is that you're doing if you're aiming to 100% a level, which ultimately is what you really want to do in this. But you can see here, let's show you another one. Also, yes, I said there are ball puns everywhere. So this is Corolia, the first world. The second world is Balderan. Get it? Star Wars. The third world is Dagobah. Star Wars. Get it? Thing is, this game knows that. Like, it's not doing that to try to be clever. It's doing that to kind of be like, hey, it's funny, right? Yeah, even though it knows it's not. So here's another world where it's like, try not to fall down. There are no walls, only balls. Only balls. And here's something else. The yellow fields will get you up to speed about what's coming next. So there's something like that. And oh yeah, these things are called war balls. So there are certain levels where this will happen, where a ball, they can be of varying different sizes and they can have different attributes, but these things are effectively your enemies. They don't shoot at you or anything, at least not at this early point in the game, but they do pursue you, and if you touch them, you die. So you have to try to stay ahead of them. There are levels where there'll be multiple small ones that come after you, and as you can see, you got to think fast if you want to be able to get all the orbs and still outrun this thing. So here's 2 little guys here, and as you can see, oh geez. So you can see there's actually directional arrows I can hit that will throw me back towards them if I'm not careful, so you got to watch it. And one of the things I appreciate about this is that though the soundtrack in this game is fairly simple, it's also nice and it's fairly zen, and as you can see, the levels sync to them. So anything that alters in the level, whether it's a laser, or so you see there's lasers here, or the frequency at which these red blocks activate. Now you see I kind of screwed up there, but in terms of getting all the orbs, because I skipped past it. But it's all synced to the given music in a certain level. So there's actually a lot of music in this game. There is a bundle when you buy this where you can get it with the, where you can get it with the soundtrack. And it's a very zen, basic electronic thing, but it fits well. It fits with the sort of bright, almost Tron-like aesthetic in the level. And as you can see, everything syncs up to it. So the music is actually a key part of gameplay. It's not just part of the overall design, and visual auditory aesthetic of the game, which I appreciate. I think it's cool that they found a way to put that stuff together. And yeah, what's nice about this is that it is constantly introducing new mechanics to you or mixing up existing mechanics in order to make every level feel very fresh. Nothing so far in this game, and the campaign in this is actually not very long. It's only either 4 or 5 worlds. Like I think it said at the, what did it say here? At the main menu. I'm already at 47%, and I haven't played this for very long. But it's nice in that all the levels are very different, and every single level feels fresh. Nothing feels like a slight alteration on what came before it. So let's take a look at 3.1 here. So yeah, True Grid, only beatable by robots, said the one robot that beat this a long time ago. You can listen to the cool music though. Yeah, this is where things got really crazy because there's buttons in this level, and they're on timers. And the buttons, the buttons have to be the buttons have to be used in concert on some of these levels. So you have to actually time things out. It's not just one button and move on, then another button and move on. You have to time things very quickly, and you got to move fast if you want to get through here. Like I said, the levels in this get very, very devilish sometimes, and that can lead to some inconsistencies. I have had some levels that seemed very, very easy, followed by one that was redonkulous. There does seem to be a little bit of difficulty inconsistent. Okay. Stop it, Parallax. There does seem to be a little bit of inconsistency in the challenge curve sometimes, but that's okay. I don't necessarily mind the game, giving me a little bit of a break once in a while. So you see here, there's the first one I turned on. But you see I didn't move quick enough. So what this expects me to do is hit this. Damn it. See what I mean? So it wants me to hit that, which turns off that laser, then hit this one, which turns off the one up here, and then I have to get up there fast enough to get through it before the timer runs out. This one is 27 seconds, and you see, this is the other thing. You might think that means 28 seconds. Nuh-uh, that's 28 beats. So the pace at which those timers tick down is completely dependent on the music of the level, and that's another way it mixes things up, because you can hear the music in this level is moving at quite a bit quicker a pace than one of the other levels I was on. So that mixes things up as well, especially when you're using timed elements like this, is you have to keep in mind that the level expects you to move to its beat, and this is kind of where I got stuck. There's an actual order here in which you have to go through these things, deactivate them, and still be able to get through them in time. So you can see it's gotten pretty challenging, but the nice thing is you can, because you don't immediately need to 8-star these levels, you can sort of screw around and play with the timing and figure it out and die a whole bunch and be like, all right, I just got to the end, I got it. And then when you finish the level, you can come back to it later and be like, okay, now I'm gonna 8-star this, especially if you do reach a point where you need more stars to progress, which, like I said, I'm not a fan of, but that really hasn't been that much of an issue so far. So I like that. I like the fact that its core idea is simple, but it's always throwing new stuff at you and always making stuff different and fresh, and I think that's really cool. You know, the sort of attitude of the game, you're gonna either find it funny or kind of cringy. I find it a little bit funny. It's not super in your face. It tends to just make a quip once in a while, and they're all text-based, so you can easily, you don't have to pay attention to it if you don't want to. So it's not a huge deal. See, this is a neat one. Uh-oh, this is the wrong spawn location. Whoop! There you go. And you see, now we have these little sort of red repeating orbs, and there'll be levels later on where you have war balls coming after you, because the war balls don't get affected by things like lasers and these red dots. So the war balls, you actually need to time things with them again to have them block these things for you so that you can get through them without taking any damage. So you basically have to use your enemies to your advantage. It's a really cool way to mix things up. It is a lot of timing and it is a lot of precision, but that's what games like this were like. You know, the original Marble Madness from back in the day was very, very much like that. That's basically the, damn it, that's the idea behind it. You know, if you're someone who gets frustrated easily, if you're someone who is not good at very precise Twitch stuff like this, this may not be for you. You may find yourself getting a little bit too aggravated with it to put the time in. I tend to be one of those people, and yet I've been enjoying this still. I haven't been doing that. I've been doing okay. Some of these later levels have been really, really tough, but I've been enjoying it, and it's a game that's very good to play for short spurts. And it's nice because, so you see how the music has changed here now that the floors come into play? And you can see how it syncs up. I like that. I like that sort of dynamic shift in how the soundtrack works when it knows that you've gotten a new thing. Get blasted by these holy projectiles to learn how to reset your respawns. See what I mean? It's stuff kind of like that. And now it's way zoomed out here, and we've got this crazy pattern to go through. And again, I could just beeline it right for the exit if I wanted, but you know, you have the extra challenge of 100%ing it if you want. So let's just go here. And then there's good luck. Funny enough, I did this the first time because this looks very daunting, but it's just simple timing. It's just stay in line with the beat, stay a little bit ahead of it. You know, try to look a few frames ahead of where you are. And there you go. See what I mean? So I didn't do great that time, but I did well on this before anyway. So stuff like that, it's cool, and I like the simple concept of it. You know, Tiny Build has been doing this with a lot of their games. A lot of their games are not necessarily overly complicated, but they take some core ideas and do very good things with them, which I do appreciate. So this also does have Steam Workshop support. You can unlock styles for your ball by doing basically getting a certain number of bonus tokens. This has no impact on anything but aesthetics, so it's kind of basic. I mean, it's not, I don't see it as all that impressive, frankly, but you know, it's nice that it's there. You can do some kind of stuff. So Carrot Orange, Liberty Blue. There's bonus styles as well. It refuses to show you how to get those, but it does show you how far you have to go to unlock other things. So that's kind of cool. There is also Steam Workshop support in this. There's Twitch support, which basically, I haven't tried it, but as far as I can tell, what it just says here is, once connected, text will appear at the top of the screen while playing the campaign. These will mock both you and your audience. So basically all this does, it sounds like, is just turn up the snark a little bit to make fun of your viewers too. Kind of cool, but you know, whatever. And yeah, this does have Steam Workshop support. I don't know how well this game is doing because there's very little Steam Workshop content and the leaderboards are even smaller. But there is stuff in here, and some of these are devilish. So you see here, it shows more what they're focused on, whether speed or rhythm, and how hard they are. So for example, there's 2 people who've completed this. Yeah. So it's a speed level, which means it's obviously focused on the time limit. I don't even know how you do this. Oh, actually, I do. You have to jump through it. So, nope. But you can get trials from this. There is a level editor as well, obviously, if you want to make your own. So that's kind of cool. So this is a rhythm level. Oh, dear God. Oh, man. This is just out-and-out cruelty, isn't it? So you basically... Oh my God, screw this level. Anyway, so you get the idea there. There is user-created content. Sadly, not much of it right now, but it is, it's nice that that's there, and it does give the game a little bit more replayability and things like that. So I think this is neat. Some people, given the length, might find it a little expensive. It's $15. Which maybe is a little bit much for some people. If it had more user-created content, some people might find that a little more palatable. It sadly does not at the moment. But I like the core stuff that's here. You've got to, like I said, you've got to like this kind of game for sure. This type of hard sort of physics-based trial stuff is most certainly not for everybody. Hole of Glory. It's most certainly not for everybody, but I think the basics of it are pretty cool. Oh yes, this one was infuriating. Yeah, hidden floors. And there's some ridiculous timing and memorization you have to do in this level. This is why I have really bad respawn time in this. It's this level is very mean. So you have to be on the right side of this gap. So you see, you basically have to learn where the hidden floor is to get through it. This is one of my favorite songs in the game, though. Now, you may be wondering why this is zipped out, right? Well, basically, if you get over here, copy-paste. What could that possibly mean? Oh, the level over here is exactly the same as the other one. You realize the solution to this path is right in front of you. You see what I mean? It's a little devilish. But yeah, I like this. I like the core mechanic of it. I think it's a fun time, but not for everyone. But again, I think some of the best indie games are the ones that are catering to a certain audience and not for everyone. So this is a fun time. So that is Road to Ballhalla, developed by Torched Hill and published by Tiny Build Games. It is available on Steam right now for $15 US or your regional equivalent. I think it's fun, and you may want to try it out for yourself, but it's, the price tag may be a little steep for some people, but, and the difficulty curve may be way worse for some people, but, as someone who was a fan of Marble Madness, this is, a neat spin on that idea. My name is Parallax Abstraction. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you liked what you saw here, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. That would help me out a great deal, and I will see you guys next time. The road to Ballhalla continues. Take it easy, guys.